And I want to welcome everybody to the Bedminster Township regular rescheduled Township Committee meeting. We have all 5 members present. Ms. Sullivan, if you could call the meeting to order with the Open Public Meetings Act statement.
Yes, sir. One second, please.
I guess I call meetings. You call meetings to order. We are for the Open Public Meetings Act statement.
We're still all here.
We are still all.
Yes.
Wasn't quite as quick as I thought I was.
We're all waiting. In life, we're all waiting for the computer to boot up sometimes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was sent to the Courier News in Somerville, to the Burnsville News in Burnsville, and to all subscribers. Also posted here at the Township Municipal Building as of January 6, 2014.
I'd like to ask you all to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have 2 sets of minutes to approve this evening, the September 15th regular meeting and the September 15th executive session. I'm going to abstain from the regular meeting since I did not get here until the executive session was commencing. Does anybody have any comments or questions about the minutes? If not, I'll take a motion.
There are some minor corrections in front of you from Newland and Freeman.
I'll move that. Mayor?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the mayor's abstaining?
For
Thank
the
you.
regular meeting. Otherwise, it's aye for the executive session. Permits and raffles. We have several social permits and raffles tonight. A raffle license for the Hunterdon County YMCA to commence on 21 November 2014. Fiddler's Elbow Country Club, 6 to 11 p.m. It's an on-premise 50/50. A raffle license for the Raritan Headwaters Association, June 30th, 2015. And that's at 2121 Larger Cross Road in Bedminster. It's an all-day event, an off-premise 50/50. A raffle license for the Raritan Valley Community College Foundation on November 15th, 2014. That'll be at the Pluckerman Inn, 1:30 to 4 p.m. It's an on-premise merchandise raffle. A raffle license for the Friends of the Jacobus Vanderveer House, December 8th, 2014. 955 Routes 202-206 South. That'll be from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on off-premise merchandise. Social affair permit for the Amwell Valley Hounds on November 22nd, 2014. That'll be at Fiddler's Elbow Country Club, 6 to 11 p.m. And finally, a social affair permit for the Midland Foundation, November 23rd, 2014. That is at the Purnell School in Pottersville, 5 to 10 p.m. Any comments or questions on any of those? And if not, I'll accept a motion.
There is one additional, actually, for a social fair permit for Raritan Valley Community College on November 15th, also at the Pluckman Inn, 1:30 to 4.
And that was the one that I didn't look at. Okay, very good. Anybody else? Any other comments or questions? If not, a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Again, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
All right. Next on the agenda are 2 things that are really cool things that we get to do once in a while. Behind the diet. This thing here. And I bet most of you in the audience, and I'm sure everybody here knows, that a couple weeks ago we had Fall Fest. And Fall Fest, in years gone by, was sponsored by the township, put on by the rec department of the township, paid for by the township. And as times got tight and the budgets got tight, we turned it into a volunteer event. And we not only turned it into a volunteer event with volunteers running it, we turned it into an event for the Bedminster Charities. And if you don't know who the Bedminster Charities are, see if I can remember them all off the top of my head. PTO, the Center for Contemporary Arts, the Friends of Jacobus Vanderveer House, the Friends of the Clarence Dillon Library, the Pottersville Fire Department, the Bedminster Far Hills Fire Department, and the Bedminster Far Hills Rescue Squad, First Aid Squad. All things that help us, help you. And since we've turned it into a volunteer event, it's grown and grown and grown every year. And this year was about a record-setting event. We had fantastic weather, but much more important than the fantastic weather, we had really, really good volunteers and a lot of hard work. And if we wanted to thank everybody that helped, we probably couldn't fit them all into this room. But tonight, I want to read some proclamations, and I want to at least thank officially the people at the head of the organization. And so I'd like Matt Edwards, I'd like Zach Rubin, I'd like Katie Rupert, and Judy Sullivan to come forward. Because these are the people at the head of the organization. They have many people underneath them that made this all happen. But you have to have leadership in any organization, and these people. So I'm going to give 3 of these out, and I'm going to hold one to read so that I know what I'm saying. Okay. Let me read. This is one of the neat things about being a mayor. I get to have proclamations. So I'm going to read this. So whereas the Bedminster Charities Fall Fest Committee has had a successful fundraising event where 7 nonprofit organizations, the 7 that I read, I won't read them again, were given financial support through the efforts of the organization. And whereas the Bedminster Charities Fall Fest Committee undertook, organized, promoted, and presented all Fall Fest events to serve the organization's goals of raising funds for the 7 beneficiaries. And whereas, under their capable and professional direction, the Bedminster Charities Fall Fest Committee has been very successful in all their efforts. Therefore, be it resolved that Zach Rubin, President, Katie Rupert, Secretary, Judy Sullivan, Treasurer, and Matt Edwards, Member at Large, be recognized for their dedicated service and hard work, making the Bedminster Charities Fall Fest Committee and organization very, very successful in their fundraising efforts. And be it further resolved that the Township Committee of the Township of Bedminster joins all of the Bedminster Charity Fall Fest organization to congratulate and thank these deserving individuals for their time and dedication to the volunteer organizations that their fundraising efforts benefit. Thank you all. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. We got to do one of these a couple weeks ago, and now we're getting to do another one. Chief Meyer, if you'll come forward. This is another thing that's more fun than budget. And that is, we've had another recent retirement in the police force, so we're bringing on a new officer. And would Noah, will you please come forward? Chief, do you want to just introduce him to the rest of the committee?
Officer Noah Benson. We're fortunate to have him come over from Plainfield Police Department. I know there's some disciplined officers on Plainfield that said we should have taken him from them, but we appreciate that, and we look forward to working with Noah. And he's already been is a benefit to our police department.
Okay, so Noah, I know you've already been on the job, so this is more ceremonial. So I know you're getting your badge for the second time, and I know somebody else already. But we're going to go through the ceremony in front of all the people here. So I'm going to ask you, and if I get to, do you have a member of the family here? Yeah. Or a friend? Can somebody come up here and hold the Bible? And I have to have my glasses on so I read the oath so I get it right. But if you will hold the Bible, Officer Benson, if you'll put your hand on the Bible, the other hand in the air. And if you'll swear, I state your name.
Noah Benson.
Do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the state of New Jersey,
and the state of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith,
and allegiance to the same
allegiance to the same,
and to the governments
and to the governments
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in the state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
impartially, and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office of patrolman
of the office of patrolman
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
and that I will not use my office
and that I will not use my office
to gain preferential treatment
to gain preferential treatment
nor seek personal gain
nor seek personal gain
favor, or advantage
favor, or advantage
not available to the general public,
not available to the general public.
so help me God.
So, yeah.
Welcome to the force.
I wish I could let him take the rest of the night off, but no, he's going right to work. Congratulations again. Congratulations. Welcome aboard. Plan here, we can't have that.
We have a full agenda for the rest of the evening. And next up, we will do what we do at every township committee meeting. We do it twice at every meeting, and we open the microphone that you just saw up there at the podium to public comments. Anybody who has a comment can express themselves. Come on up to the microphone, state your name, your street address, and feel free to make comment.
Zach Rubin, 132 Somerville Road. I just wanted to say thank you to the Township Committee for the recognition, but a special thank you to the board that you recognized this evening, but also to Judy Sullivan, again, for all the hours that she put in. Early mornings, late nights, weekends. So we raised about $42,000 for the 7 charities, which is about 15% more than last year. So we did a pretty good job, so thank you.
And a great amount of your labor came from the charities themselves, right?
Correct, yep.
So the team that you put together had 7 armies of people from each of the beneficiary charities.
Exactly.
That's terrific. Anyone else?
Matt Edwards, Fort Field Road. I'd like to commend the council and especially the police chief on stationing an officer on the entrance to the school. It's been overwhelmingly noticed, and I don't even use it because I walk to school with my children, so I've heard feedback from others and benefiting from it huge. So I'm come from law enforcement. I understand how difficult change is. I commend him again for instituting change, which again has been noticed. Thank you.
And for those of you who don't know what's happened as the school year started, for anybody that's done parent pickup or drop off, you know that during that 45 minutes to a half hour at the beginning of the school day and at the end of the school day, it can be a little challenge making a left turn back onto Somerville Road if you have to do that. And Mr. Jacobs made the suggestion and talked to the police chief, and together they came up with a plan when there's not another emergency going on to have an officer direct traffic out there and expedite that. And yeah, I've heard nothing but wonderful comments about that. So Chief, I thank you also for that. That's a huge improvement. Anybody else? Please.
Okay. Hello, Kim Lazarus, Hemlock Haven Court. So we're off on the whole election season and we're well within it. Seeing lots of red signs. With that being said, I want to make sure it's all fair and equitable. So one thing that has popped up, and I want to look at the township and get some feedback, is that I'm receiving emails, although I think Ken's a great guy. I don't know why I'm receiving emails from Ken for the election. And a lot of other Democrats are as well. So there's no way someone should have gotten our email addresses. Now I've gone to the school and I asked the PTO if names were released via the school system. So I just want to make sure that we're all being fair and equitable during these elections and that no one has leaked any of the school lists or emails for the purposes that they should not be used by.
Have you addressed the Board of Ed on this?
I did. I went to the school today I talked to some other people. And I asked the school directly, have you released the list? And they said no. And then they put a call in and they called the Board of Ed for me and they said no. But myself and several of my friends and acquaintances who are Democrats are receiving these emails. So again, just in the nature and spirit of being fair and equitable, let's please make sure that we are adhering to have those emails, if they're collected, one way or another, are being used appropriately. And that's what I'm asking for. Because there's no way that someone should have gotten my email be any other manner that I can think of for such an election or such communication. I have an email, I'm happy to share it. So I'm just looking for the town council to please step up, and if there is any, I'm not saying there is, but if there's some misuse of the school information, to please cease it now. Fair? Is that fair?
It's not our purview,
Okay.
but I think airing it in public is a good thing to do. So,
That's it.
thanks.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, we will move to subcommittee chair reports. We'll start with Mr. Payne.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. I just wanted to report, and of course you were in attendance at the September 25th Bedminster Hills Housing Corp meeting. And Chris Robinson announced at that meeting that would be her last. For those of you who know a little bit about Chris, she has served on the BHAC for 17 years, and a good portion of that as the president. And I just wanted to acknowledge her in public for those 17 years of service. During that period of time, we went through a number of different financial and economic national upheavals, as well as how many rounds of COA regulations and redos and
Far too many.
far too many, right, Mr. Millardo? So, but yet she was at the head of the BHAC for that period of time, and you know, her services want to be duly recognized for that.
And also at that BHHC meeting, they announced a good plan to use the COA funds to help the low and moderate income neighborhoods.
Right, there's a couple of requests that have been placed in by the neighborhoods for to use some of the trust fund money that the BHC has for capital projects. And this would offset the need for possibly any special assessments or raising any of the fees in these neighborhoods, and they can address some of these capital keep the units and the common areas safe and serviceable.
So it's a three-tiered program for those that aren't aware. One is a portion is grants to the neighborhoods.
Correct. Yeah.
And another portion is short-term and long-term low or no interest loans. And so we'll see that coming in the years ahead. And the history behind that, for those that aren't aware, the COA trust fund money had been transferred from the township over to BHHC where it belongs, which also helped keep it out of reach of state government, which was looking to bring it back. They were looking for any unspent money to come back. And although I can't necessarily say I agree with the folks down in Trenton that they wanted their money back, but their point was that that money should not just sit there. It needs to go back into the neighborhoods that need it. So BHHC has that money and now has a program to try to make sure that those neighborhoods, the low and moderate income neighborhoods, have the opportunity to kind of keep themselves up with capital programs, some assistance.
Can I just ask, the capital programs, now, when I brought this up, that this money be spent so that the state doesn't take it for the general funds, I was told several years ago that, no, it couldn't be done because the Cortland neighborhood, a lot of them were privately owned. Will this money now be used for these capital projects near the privately owned units too, which I think are some of the worst, really eyesore in those Cortland units?
Well, it doesn't.
Painting, the sidewalks, the lights.
Well, it doesn't really matter who the individual property owner is. It's just the common areas.
Okay, so it'll be the common
So
areas,
common
but not
areas,
painting those horrible units that need painting.
Well, once again, it's capital improvement. Some of the projects that were talked about were sidewalks, staircases,
Mhm.
railings,
So
decks.
that's not common staircases, that's actually part of the unit, right? That's it.
Not necessarily. In some of those areas, if that's going up to a certain unit, that's considered common property.
Okay.
So, in cases where it is considered common property, then they can utilize that. And it was mostly to address deteriorating safety issues, such as stairs, railings, sidewalks, lighting was another one, yeah.
As long as the state can't wear them on there.
Well, that's why we moved it over to BHHC a
Yeah,
couple
but
years
just
ago.
giving it to BHHC doesn't protect it. It has to be used. I mean, that's.
Well, no, that's why,
It has to be spent.
rather than have it just sit there, that's why the BHHC came up with the program.
That's great.
And each of the neighborhoods can come up and petition the BHHC for portions of that money, and then it gets reviewed by the BHHC. You know, it's not just a blank check, here, take your money, do whatever you want with it. They have to present a plan, they have to show that they can accept the grant or accept the loan and have a repayment plan for the loan portion, so.
Because I know at one point, when I first talked about this a couple years, well, a year ago, when they were talking about granting the money back, we had almost $1 million, right? We had $1 million that we had given to the BHHC that hadn't been spent on anything. So we really.
Well, what
want to make
hasn't
sure we
been matter
use
of
that.
necessarily, not all of it is spent at one time. There was a spending plan that we had to have
But that was
approved.
that loan which wasn't.
Well, loan,
that
it was,
popular.
well, it's becoming more and more popular as the residents learn more about what it's about. And this is, down payment assistance to certain people that are in arrears or behind in their maintenance fees. So the program is being better embraced now that people can kind of really understand what it's about. And everybody has to qualify, of course, too. So not everybody in those units qualify for the assistance. That's it.
Anything else, Bernie?
That's it, Mayor.
Carolyn?
Just one comment, what we do at the beginning of the meeting with the permits and raffles? And Steve has to use his voice so much and we'll have to listen to it. Can't that be done administratively somehow?
Yes, it can.
Why don't we? Do we need to spend an extra 10 minutes on that? It just seems so not important.
You're the first person to complain about my voice.
No, you have a nice voice, I just don't want you to waste it.
There are a lot of people that say I have plenty of hot air to spare, but
You know what I mean? Do we have to go through that? If you'd say 5 minutes, 10 minutes? No?
There is
Anybody agree with
the
me?
township would have to be, I have to look up the process. There is, some towns just have authorize the township clerk to approve those types of permits without any township committee input.
Wouldn't it be easier for you, less typing, Whatever. Yeah, I remember you saying some towns don't do that. Well, anyway, I'm just throwing it out there. It's up to you if you want to pursue that, but I just thought that could save us some time and printing, whatever. I had 2 meetings last week, the environmental committee, which was a 20-minute meeting, which I missed half of, and nothing important happened, and the Board of Health meeting for once had something, worth talking about. Not that it's not worth talking about, but I'm sure you don't want to hear about sewers, but they did the first of the new rating system with the ABC and fail for the restaurants and eating establishments. I don't know if you want me to announce, they didn't do everybody, they just did about 10 so far. So I don't know if you want me to announce publicly, it is public information, who got the A's, who got the B's, and the one person that got this, the one unit that got the C's. You want to know?
Yes.
Yes,
you
no?
got the microphone.
Yeah, I don't know, do you want to hear it, should I? What do you think? We announced it at the Board of Health, well, we badgered the county representative and got the information out of them, all of us. Okay, A's went to the Pluckemin Inn, Burger King, Delicious Heights, and Mediterra Bistro. I go there all the time, but I'm not sure the right name. The place, the Italian
Mediterranean
place on
Trattoria.
202. Yeah. These Trump, Fiddler's, Fresh Market, Dunkin' Donuts, the Fresh Market Deli, and a C to the Carriage House. But the C just means conditional. Some of the things too that they get marked on are really minor. But, number of employees, ratio of employees, that kind of thing. But anyway, it's supposed to be posted near a public entrance. You should be able to see it when you walk in. And some people have a Yelp app where you can find how they're rated. Well, they wanted us to know that for a fee, the restaurant pays a fee and the Yelp app will eliminate all negative comments. So you might not want to rely on that Yelp app. I never have used it, but anyway, that's the interesting news from the Board of Health. That's all I have.
Well, the Carriage House has always had good food when you've had your meetings there.
Of course.
I always thought it
I
was good.
personally
I hope,
inspect it.
I would think.
Actually, I don't.
So I don't know.
I have no
I'll
problem
have to ask
there.
the Board of Health.
Like I
to
said, it could be
reconsider
things
that.
like they weren't wearing their little hat thing, or,
Mhm.
so,
We hope they all do well in town.
yes, they can improve and get an A rating, so. Thank you.
No comments, Mayor. No comments.
Ms. Santucci?
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the Jacobus Vanderveer Colonial Christmas meeting. We're meeting for Colonial Christmas already. I just wanted to announce the dates this year. They're going to be November 29th, November 30th, and then the next weekend after that, December 5th and December 6th, with the party being on the 5th. But they're really planning a great Colonial Christmas again this year. They work very hard. I promised them that I will keep mentioning it so people can be interested and know the dates, and I'll keep you updated.
And I will only add one thing, just because I see it's not necessarily on Judy's report, but I know Judy has told me in the past week or so, it looks like our shared court with Peapack and Gladstone is rolling ahead. And I've been in contact with members of the council up there, and both towns are very excited to see that move forward. It's gone through the AOC process, right?
We got notified last week that Judge Kelleher and Judge, if I'm saying it right, Ciccone, approved our agreement and contacted myself and the administrator from Peapack Gladstone. They are giving us a short list of some things we need to put in place in order for us administratively to move forward, and then the court staff has a number of items, you know, new letterheads, some new signage, that type of thing that we need to do. Officially, we must look at appointing professionals and a new judge, or maybe keep the same judge, but we have to go through the process, and we have to actually adopt a resolution accepting the shared service. Mr. Bilardo just completed putting that together. That'll be on for our next agenda on the 20th.
Very exciting.
So we're looking at a target date of probably January 1.
Okay. Excellent. And with that, I'll let you go on with your administration.
With my list?
Yeah.
Okay. If you haven't noticed or haven't been down River Road, Tunnel project is not totally complete, but really nicely underway. The paving part and the actual tunnels themselves have been put in. John and his crew have some other portions to put in, some fencing and some other grading in the field, but it's going along very well. So if you haven't been down there, you should take a look. As Zach Rubin reported, and again, he gave credit to me, I have to give credit to him. Zach, Katie, Matt, the four of us worked very hard, but especially Zach, got emails from him daily almost of things we needed to do. But as he said, the group did raise about $42,000. We had a little over 2,500 attendees, and it was a very nice event. We had good weather. As part of the Fall Fest Day, we did a dedication of a bench in honor of Mrs. Merck. A number of local residents came forward and donated some funding. We were able to purchase a bench with a nice inscription on it, a quote from Mrs. Merck, and she didn't even want to come to Fall Fest that day, but she did come, and it was a very nice event that she got to see the bench for her honor. It's actually, the bench is located near the silo of the old Wells Farm, and it's the intersection of an equestrian trail and one of our new walking trails for the River Road Park Nature Trail. And it's just a nice location. And she's very excited about it. She would also like to know if she could plant 2 trees near her, which she's, her bench. So didn't really see a problem with that. She would have someone do it. We're not asking the township to do it. She would do it herself, or people she would ask to do for her.
Just kind of a neat aside to that was that when she got out there, she was surprised because there was someone sitting on her bench when she arrived, and that would be Oliver Philly Sr., who's a contemporary of Mrs. Merck, and both of those individuals, but especially Mrs. Merck, has done so much for Bedminster over the years and continues. She's in her 90s, and she still sits on our open space farmland committee, and we should all aspire to have contributed as much as she's done just in the last few years. So I think that's a great tribute.
Also, the trail that I just mentioned, the River Road Park Nature Trail, is also underway. We hope to have that completed by the middle or end of this month. We're waiting for some signs to be delivered, but it should be done very soon. Lastly, I got information, Somerset County Residential Energy Aggregation Program they have awarded, the Somerset County freeholders have awarded consulting services to the Jersey Energy Group of Princeton. They will be coming around, contacting each of the administrators from all the Somerset County towns and giving us a program of what they hope to do with energy aggregation. We can invite them to a meeting if you'd like to hear more. Each of the towns are, listening to what they have to say.
And we're looking forward to that, because I think it was about a year and a half ago, I think it was Zahir Jean that brought the energy aggregation program to our attention. And I think Jackson or New Egypt down in South Jersey was one of the first towns to go into it as a municipality. And I think we kind of kicked it around here, was it something that we were willing to do as a municipality? And then we found out that the freeholder board, the county, was looking to do it. And the idea is that the energy aggregation, the larger group that you can get involved in it, the lower the price you can hope to get for your electricity.
Now, the program from the county is for residential only. And it's, from what I understand, it's if you go for it, everyone is opted in, and then if a resident didn't want it, they would have to actually take action to opt out. But all the details I don't have. That would come from a representative from this group to come and speak to us.
And the fact that it's coming forward does not mean it's a fait accompli that we're going to do it, but is that hopefully in the weeks and months ahead, we'll get more information so that we can make a decision on that. So as people talk to their friends, pass it along and let them know that it's something brewing, and if they want to give us some input, it'll be something we'll be looking forward to in the weeks ahead. Okay.
That's all I have.
All right, discussion on introduced ordinances scheduled for public hearings. We have none. Introduction of ordinances. We have none. Public hearing on ordinances. We have none. We don't have anything on the consent agenda tonight, do we?
No.
So we will start moving on to resolutions. We have several resolutions. Resolution 2014-109, authorizing the insertion of a special item of revenue and insertion in the 2014 budget to include funding for the Municipal Youth Services Commission grant program. So this is a grant that we're getting mid-season.
Yes. It was not in our budget when we adopted the budget. This grant historically comes around this time of year. We can't put it in the budget unless we have confirmation that we're going to receive it. We just have that now. So
$1,252.50. Any comments or questions? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second?
this is a roll call vote. Ms. Freeman?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Resolution 2014-110, appointing members of the Pluckerman Park Management Committee. And we had talked about this a couple weeks ago, and we're waiting for input from the residents of Pluckerman Park as to a member that they would like to put on there. And we only got one name, right?
Well, you have an email in your packet with this resolution. We received an email from this individual that she was chosen by her neighbors to represent them. So I didn't question anyone, but I take her for her word. So.
Okay. Any comments or questions? If not, I'll accept the motion, 2014-110.
So moved.
Second?
Again, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Mayor, just a question on that. Since I'm going to be the township committee representative, Judy, what's going to initiate like the first meeting or of this group, or how?
I've been contacted by the new owners at Pluckerman Park, asking us when this group was going to be formulated, and I have a contact there, and I would work through him to set up our first meeting.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Resolution 2014-111, appointing a new part-time IT employee. And IT has always been a struggle within the municipality. I remember when I was in the service, oddly enough, you'd think a big organization like the U.S. military would really be good at computers and networking, and on the aggregate they are, but at the office or squadron level, it seemed like the person that ran the computers in the squadrons I was in was the guy that had the biggest computer at home, or was the most conversant with computers. And unfortunately, we find ourselves in a similar position, not as bad as I described, but a lot of our computer needs end up getting put on the shoulders of somebody on the staff that knows an awful lot about computers, but that's not his main function, and it slows that individual down from getting his main function done. And although, Sean, we thank you for everything you've done to keep a lot of our computer services as good as possible, or as efficient as possible, it's high time we get somebody dedicated in this modern time to really kind of keep our IT system up and running. It's not a full-time position, but it's a part-time position, and it also might be shared.
I have reached out to a couple neighboring communities who are in the same boat with us. They don't have any IT staff. Far Hills, PPAC, both will have be interested in maybe taking this person on a as-needed basis from time to time, on an hourly basis, or more. And also, don't want to preclude anything else. I haven't had an official conversation. There are some other, I'll call them agencies or groups in town that may share this employee with us. I'll leave it at that.
And I will say, over the years, I was really hoping that we would have arrived at a good accommodation with the school, because the school has really robust IT. But if you talk to the folks over at the school, they'll tell you that they're about as busy with everything that they can handle, and even seeming to come into a shared service on that, they don't really have the spare bodies or hours to devote to such a thing. So I'm glad we're finding a way this way. Anybody have any comments or questions?
Judy, is this contemplated in the budget?
The funding is actually from a savings that it was not officially in the budget at the beginning of the year, no, but we have some savings in our salary and wage line with some changes we've had with staff. The replacement staff came in at a lower number than what the current staff was, that allowed for this hourly employee.
And with the 15 hours per week, is that a set amount, or is that an as-needed basis?
Right now it's a set amount, 15 hours a week we felt was very doable. We can fill that very easily.
We can fill that up, and this also frees up your time and Sean's time?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second?
This is a roll call vote. Ms. Freeman?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Resolution 2014-112, appointing members of the Shared Municipal Court Service Advisory Committee. And glad that was the acronym we came up with.
Yeah, I would just note, you probably want to do this next meeting, because that's when you have to get the
So let's table
agreement,
this.
and then this will follow.
Then let's table this. All right, let's move on to 2014-113, the Central Jersey Health Insurance Fund membership renewal. And this is something we always kind of cringe at, because this is about the time of year we'll find out what our health costs are going to be for the following year. And Judy, how are you doing?
Actually, I'm going to turn it over to Sean, because he went to the last Central Jersey Health Insurance Fund meeting where they introduced the 2015 budget, and maybe just want to give a quick comment.
Nothing too much to note from the meeting, aside from the proposed rate increase for next year. It's just over 4% for next year, which is historically better than we've done in the past.
I can't remember a year we haven't had double digits.
Yeah, I think it was 2012 that we were at 17%, so significantly better. And that's due to better claims experience from the past year, and also the action that they took in increasing the rates in 2012. So they're hoping we're going to stabilize a little bit.
We should be also now qualified for a dividend coming up in 2015. So.
Well, yeah, when we moved off the state plan, we went to the HIF realizing that hopefully after a couple of years of good experience, that we might qualify for dividends, so I guess that time has come.
Sean, just a question. I know the 17% increase was a direct result of their changing their underwriting guidelines where municipalities that have had previous years of high claim activity were going to be paying kind of a premium over and above the other municipalities. So the 4%, what's the average for the municipality increases that don't have an exceptional claim history?
So the way they do it is there's a baseline increase of 2%, and then I think they said it's plus or minus 4% based on your experience. Except for extreme cases, I think they had a couple towns with really pretty significant claims. Those towns got more of an increase. So the baseline 2 plus or minus 4% is what they're doing this year.
And they base that on just the previous year, or are they basing it on an average of
You know, that I don't know. My impression was that it was just the previous year, but I could be wrong on that.
I believe it is just for the previous year. Yes.
So that was the claim history for 2013. So we'll kind of anticipate and know at the end of this year if our claim history is tracking the previous year for either better or worse. Right?
Well, we don't necessarily know that. We don't really see that information on claims. We kind of have to take their word for it.
Unless we know we had a major.
Right. Yeah. Of course. Unless it's something that we're aware of. Yeah.
For a real extended period of time.
Yep.
Right. Very good. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
This will be a roll call vote. Ms. Freeman?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you.
Final resolution 2014-114, approving the submission of an NJDOT grant application for the Robertson Drive Improvement Project. And this has also been a little frustration in recent years because isn't this our third year of trying to get Robertson Drive? So every year the township applies to NJDOT to try to get grants to improve. We choose a road or a set of roads every year with John's advice to try to keep ahead of the road infrastructure. And I think for the 2 years running, we tried to get Robertson, and we've got Country Club. We tried to get Robertson, and this past year it was Deerhaven? Old Dutch, excuse me. So for those of you, especially those of you that live in the hills, you know how bad, especially the part of Robertson that dumped on Hills Drive was. And this winter, we couldn't wait any longer. We kept receiving grants, not necessarily the ones we had at the top of our list. So we took out a hide, and John's people, over the past month and a half, you'll notice that the first, about a quarter mile, eighth of a mile has been redone. And we did that out of hide, out of budget, out of John's budget, just because it was so bad. But we're going to resubmit again and try to get the rest of Robertson Drive done, and hopefully we'll get it this year. It's
And this time we're only making one application, and this is it.
So,
In the
yeah,
past, we've done 2 applications.
and they've always given us the other one.
Right.
So we'll roll the dice and hope we get that and don't get skunked. So that's what this one's all about. Does anybody have any comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Approval of the bill list. I'll take a motion to approve the bill list pending the individual invoices.
So moved.
Second?
This will be a roll call vote. Ms. Freeman?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you.
Couple things on our discussion items. Judy, you're gonna give us a little
Yes, in your
something on our best
packet,
practice checklist?
you should have the best practices checklist for 2014-2015 calendar year. This is a checklist that is put out this time of year to all towns in New Jersey. There are 50 questions, most of them revolving around budgeting, employee practices, personnel, measures to save money within your town, shared services, a lot of the hot buttons that you hear about all the time. Of the 50 questions, towns that are able to answer yes, or an NA, meaning that particular question doesn't apply to the town, on at least 41 of the questions, receive a favorable rating and get to keep all their state aid. If you have a rating of less than 41 questions, 41 points, you will not receive a portion of your state aid for this year, for 2014. They will deduct that portion from the fourth payment of, you get your state aid in payments, so your fourth quarter payment of your state aid will have a portion less, depending on your score. Going through, I'm happy to report, Bedminster has a 45 out of the 50. So, not able to take a yes on everything, but 45 is still a very good score. So, you can see the questions, some of them required notes, they're in there.
I find it a little remarkable that the no answer, one of the no answers that we have is on the state health benefits plan.
Well, that's
I
a
mean,
tough one. Because we're not part of the state health benefits plan, we have to take a no.
Right. But yet it's saving the
But we're
taxpayers'
saving
money.
more money than if we were in the state health benefits plan. So, yeah, that's a no, and I took the no, but, yeah, I don't agree with it.
I just have a few questions, Judy. Number 15, the audit findings. I know we go over this every year, and we've made some progress. Audit findings address areas needing improvement. Okay, we have audit findings that we were not able to satisfy. One is inadequate segregation of duties be maintained with respect to the recording and treasury functions, and that's because it's the same person, right? And it would cost us more money, we'd have to hire somebody else, right?
They were saying that we didn't diversify the duties with enough employees. Now,
Right.
recently we did add some hours to the CFO's responsibilities, and then our tax collector is now also taking on, she's also now a finance clerk for 5 hours a week. We're hoping that that additional diversification of duties will eliminate this comment on our audit.
Number 2, the township continue its effort to maintain a complete general ledger accounting system for all funds to ensure full compliance with the division's technical accounting directives. We're doing that, or why are they still commenting on that?
We have with our new Edmunds finance program, we have a general ledger is a portion of that computer program. We did not have it totally up and running this was for the 2013 audit year. It was not 100% up and running in 2013, so we did not get that favorable comment.
Okay.
For 2014, it has been in effect for the full year. We hope to have that removed from next year's audit as well.
Great, okay. Okay, and we're doing number 3, grant receivable and appropriated grant balances be reviewed for collectability and.
Right, we had a number of older grants that had been sitting for a while. One of them was this nature trail down at River Road Park. We're cleaning them up as best we can, using up the funding, getting reimbursed, and we hope to clear that one out as well.
Okay, great. And let me see, I had a question on another one.
Well, we're comfortably within where we have to be, within the range to maintain.
Right, anything 41 or above is considered acceptable.
Yeah, number 48, has your municipality adopted an ordinance, resolution, regulation, or policy eliminating longevity awards, bonuses, or payments for non-union employees? We have, what do we have?
Well, we don't have longevity. We do not, employees are not rewarded for longevity in Bedminster at all. However, I have to say there have been times, not recently, but in the past, where there was what you might want to call a stipend or a bonus given to employees for a particular reason. Maybe they put in a great amount of overtime and they're not entitled to overtime.
Right.
So there has been an occasion in the past where that's been done. So I couldn't take a yes because we don't have a written policy that doesn't allow that.
Why does the state, I mean, wouldn't that be a good thing? Why does the state not want that? Well, because I guess you can misuse it.
It can be abused, that's the reason.
Okay.
Judy, with the time that the employees did not receive a raise, but a year-end bonus instead
Yes,
of
that
those
would be
2
what
years,
was-
that would be one of the times.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
That was a decision the township committee made because we had funds left over at the end of the year that we were able to do something, but again, that falls into that category. We haven't done that for a number of years, but,
Okay, thank you.
okay.
Just wanted to clarify that, thank you.
All right, if we have no other questions, we can move on to tree adoption. We've had a constituent try to point out a tree of historic reference in town. And I'm gonna, Joe can explain it better than I, but Joe's not here tonight. But we have a tree right between 287 and 202, 206 that's how many years old? Somewhere in the neighborhood, but 300 years?
300 years old, and I guess it's the oldest ash tree in the state,
Believed to be.
believed to be, reputed to be, I guess.
And I know we have a constituent that's it's near and dear to his heart, and he is concerned about some infestation we have coming from west to east. And the issue was, it's not too far from our hike and bike path, and I think we have a right of way that goes near the tree. And he was petitioning us, trying to find out if he thinks he can get an arborist to come in and help maintain the tree, to hopefully protect it from the infestation that may be coming from yonder and infesting the northeast. And it sounds like a great idea. Good, you know, you've got a tree company that wants to donate their services to help protect a historic tree, and marriage made in heaven. The only problem is we have an easement near the tree, but the tree's not on township property. So, although we're struggling with the idea of how we as an entity can't enter into an agreement to help protect this tree.
Yeah, my problem was we don't own the tree, we don't own the property the tree is on.
But we've reached out to,
So, with the help of this constituent, we did reach some of the property manager for the property, who we sent the proposal from the tree company that's offering their services. They got back to us last week, finally said that they will approve it with certain requirements. And I sent those requirements last week to this tree company and said, are you agreeable to these conditions? And I have yet to hear back from them.
so it's ongoing.
If they agree to these conditions, we should be able to move forward. I would have to maybe assist in getting an insurance certificate and some other documents to Verizon on their behalf, but I would be happy, you know, I'm gonna happy to help them make this
But
happen.
our role on this is kind of on the sidelines as traffic cop, because we don't own the property and we don't own the tree, and we're not.
I actually, John Mance and I were talking about this morning. He reminded me of the easement agreement. So I went to the archives, I pulled it out. This constituent you're speaking about actually signed the agreement for the tree. It gives a map and shows us where we're allowed to go for the maintenance and repair of the hike and bike trail only. And the tree is clearly not in that area, so.
But it's a great opportunity, and we thank Joe for bringing it to our attention, and hopefully, although the wheels tend to move kind of slow, hopefully Verizon, the owner of the property.
Yeah, I reached out to them last week. As soon as we got this, I sent it over to Bartlett to see, that's the tree company that's offering their services, to see if they agree to the conditions. And I asked them to try and get back to me as soon as possible for our meeting tonight. I didn't hear from them today, but as soon as I do, hopefully we can move forward.
And this is not without precedent. My recollection is about 5 or 6 years ago, when I was on the Environmental Commission, we worked with a tree company. It may have been Bartlett, may have been someone else, and they did cabling. John, you remember? So actually, I think the cables are still up there supporting the tree. Some of the, 250, 300-year-old tree has some pretty pretty heavy branches.
And John's department's been out there,
Disrepair.
if the trees are overhanging the hike and bike trail and that kind of thing, if that happens, I mean, they'll certainly help with that, so.
Right, so there's certainly some precedent for the town working with Verizon to effect some tree repair.
Right.
Mayor, if I could just comment on the, first of all, I'm fully in favor of us, expediting this in any way and assisting any way we can. And we thank the constituent for, reaching out to Verizon and Bartlett. The only thing is, I think will probably, the proposed letter or agreement that came from Verizon would probably have to have some language changes. Only because of a couple of things where it says the township shall assure that Verizon is provided with an insurance certificate from Bartlett. I think all we can do is just act as an intermediary to have Bartlett give it to them. We can't assure that it's necessarily going to happen. And then township shall ensure that Bartlett Tree Experts compensates its employees and contractors for the work performed. We can't assure that. The only thing we can do is get a promise by Bartlett that they are indeed going to pay their employees for that specific work. So I would have to say that some of the language probably would have to be altered a little bit, because we can't guarantee anything like that.
Bernie, this is once again going back 5 or 6 years ago, but I think from the EC at that time, our recommendation was to ask Verizon as a citizen, corporate citizen, if they would actually contribute or otherwise participate in the activities. Now, I don't know if that letter ever went out 5 or 6 years ago, but perhaps this request for insurance and everything else, that can be turned around and presented to Verizon as this is your tree on your property.
So once I hear back.
Stand up and try to work with us.
So
Don't be a pain in the ass.
I hope you got that on tape.
As in the tree.
The tree.
That was him.
Don't be a pain in the ass.
You weren't saying that to, you were saying to the tree.
Verizon.
No, I think our role is going to be here just to basically get these parties together.
Chief, we may have a pun ordinance. Can you please look that up and see if Attorney Bellardo should be taken away?
That would be over government, too much government.
So the next step on this, Judy, is
once I hear from Bartlett, if they agree, then I'll.
For Verizon?
Well, there is a letter from Verizon
Oh, okay.
giving some stipulations.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for
That was
Bartlett
one
to
I
tell me
was
whether they'll comply.
All right, and finally on the discussion items here, a request for a letter of support Somerset County, for a Somerset County grant application. This is from a request from the Somerset County Planning Board. They are looking to get looks like a $300,000 grant for a study.
Bless you.
And they are looking for a letter from our municipality by October 15th. And they're just looking for us to pile on with all the rest of the towns in the county to show support for this effort.
Yeah, they're just asking for a letter signed by the mayor that you support this.
So what I guess we'd be looking for tonight is if you have any comments or questions, or we can get a sense of the committee. Is this something that we want to participate in as far as giving a letter of encouragement, essentially, letter of support?
Well, do we know what the NJTPA, have they identified any geographic areas in town as priority growth areas?
See, my guess it would be south of us.
Well, having some experience with NJTPA, it's transportation, it's a smart growth, make sure that transportation dollars are appropriately spent. Often look at intersections of highways, so 78, 287, 202, 206. We might want a little more detail about just what they're proposing and make sure it's consistent with our master plan.
Agreed.
yeah. Yes, and I agree, Larry. Sometimes these are more geared towards more urban centers or developmental corridors or things like that, as opposed to necessarily something that, you know, we may benefit from.
Yeah, they basically want to see a giant growth area around the Fort Hills train station, which
Yeah.
we might not support.
Well, they ask us for a letter for October 15th, so my guess is then we would probably then take pass.
Well, I mean, if we could find out just exactly a little more detail about what they're doing. And then just administratively, you know.
No, I understand.
I can reach out to them and see if I can get some more details. I can send that out to everybody. And let me know what you think.
Okay.
I mean, if we all concurred on it, I mean, we could do that by email or we need a special meeting for that.
No, we have to meet in public for that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just it. We have to meet publicly for that, so.
We'll miss it then. We'll miss it.
Let's see if we can find out, the next day or so. If we have to have a special meeting, we can do that. But I wouldn't want to get a letter out if we don't really know what we're supposed to do. Exactly. So,
Okay.
let's see if we can find out some more, and if that does happen, then otherwise, I don't think our letter is going to make or break this, so.
I think they were just looking for, you know,
General.
participation from all the towns in the county.
Do we know, does Frank know anything? Frank Babish, does he know anything about this?
I can reach out to him as well, I don't know.
Okay, and was that Jamie Soniak that was just in?
Yes.
Is there a chance that she might know from her
Possibly.
role as Raritan Township
Possibly.
planner?
Possibly.
Anyone in the audience?
If there's anyone in the back
Okay,
room,
Jamie?
see if Jamie's in the building.
If she's a planner for, she may know all about it, I don't know.
Are we one of
Oh,
those?
good for her to count.
She's gonna be sad.
We're on the spot.
And, right, and she may not even be in the NJTPA jurisdiction.
We don't have any of the 24 priority growth investment areas that they talk about in our town, right?
That's what we'd like to find out.
We don't know that.
It's NJTPA. So it's, they're essentially proposing,
That's what we
state.
said. That's what we said.
Oh,
Jamie!
You, citizen with the dark hair in the back.
If only there was a planner in the room.
Yeah.
Is there a planner in the room?
No. I'm off duty.
Yes.
Can I
We have a question,
Sure.
and question arises from the Somerset County Planning Board has asked us about, for a letter supporting, let's see, the right verbiage, the priority, let me see, for the,
I don't even have my glasses.
You want readers?
No.
Yeah.
they're looking for a grant from the New Jersey Transportation Planning Authority, NJTPA.
Okay. So have you been contacted by Somerset County? This is the letter from them to you from Walter Land.
Yep, say, please send us a letter supporting this.
And we don't know what this is.
That's the
If
beginning
it's
of the end.
free planning services, I would say go ahead and support it. I mean, I think that NJTPA is reaching out to a lot of municipalities, including Hunterdon County and other areas, so I'm not really sure exactly what this involves or what their focus area is, but I don't see why you couldn't, entertain if they're looking at grant, if there's specific grant money that you may be eligible for economic planning and
Well, it's
demographic information.
It's simply the county planning board is looking to get the grant.
I know that Hunterdon County is also in the process of, they just got a similar letter, and it just came out yesterday. And the county planning staff will be meeting with NJTPA regarding whatever this project is. So I'm not specifically aware of exactly what it is at this point to advise you any further, but I would reach out to Somerset County and Walter and see if you could get more information about, you know, if it's site-specific thing, if it's a township-specific thing, if it's,
Well,
I don't know any more.
it seems to me we need more data.
Yeah.
Our apologies, Jamie.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, but.
Well, good thing I saw something like this already, but.
Oh, yeah.
Jamie has to put up with my funds
I mean,
2 times a month at her meetings.
I mean, if it turns out it's worthwhile, we'll just convene a special meeting.
Yeah.
We can do that.
We can do that.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, on to new business and old business. Does anybody have any new business to bring up? Then let's look towards the old business. I'm going to go from the bottom up because I can get rid of some stuff. Right now, the deer management program continues to be under review. We're trying to work on the how we select potential folks to participate in the deer management program, and we're looking out for some help on that. So that is still ongoing. We don't have enough to present to the committee yet. Property tax rewards program. Do we have anything from the BVA yet?
Yeah, I wrote to Steve Goldman 2 weeks ago before our last meeting, and he said he'd get back to me, which he did this morning. And he said they've discussed it, but there's no decision yet, but that's all he told me. Then I sent an email, unfortunately, late yesterday to Robert Offcaesar, and I haven't heard from him. But they are, you know, I wasn't able to go to the last meeting. We meet Friday morning, and I have class at 19 Friday morning, and I can't believe it's so the beginning of the school year. But they're meeting October 30th in the evening, 5:30 to 7:30. So I asked him in the email if I could go to that meeting with another member of the township committee and talk to them about it, and to get back to me, because I definitely could make that meeting. If not, I'll just get a sub and go to the morning meeting. But I wrote to both of them and said, could you please let us know the status of it?
Well, the good news is I don't think there's anything really perishable on this, meaning
Right.
I don't think as time moves on, it doesn't diminish this proposal. So hopefully they will find enough businesses, and once they do, we can perhaps move forward with it. So
If I could comment, I went to a recent Somerset County administrators meeting, and there's a lot of towns doing this program with this same company that came to us to make a presentation. So
yeah.
becoming very popular.
Yeah, that's my fear that if all, you said Bernard's is considering it.
Yeah, but a lot of towns in Somerset County, even I know Hillsborough has
Yeah, Hillsborough has it.
Hillsborough, I know Montgomery's looking at it, I think Franklin's looking at it, there's, Berners Township called me and said, you know, are you guys doing this yet? And, you know.
See, I don't want them to pull away our people to their businesses, you know, even.
They have not discussed it at the township committee level, so it's not an issue that I'm aware of that they're moving forward. I know maybe the administrators.
Yeah, the administrators, we
said
were
there was
talking
some
about it, but.
interest. It's not even reached the township committee.
Okay, so the business association, they have a pretty active one.
Yeah, no, it hasn't percolated at all, so.
Okay. Yeah, I'll keep pushing it, you know, and I will go to October 30th meeting unless they tell me not to. I sent them an email yesterday saying, can we come? I don't know if anybody else, Bernie, wants to come. 2 of us go, that would be better. So, I mean, it's nice to have 2 of us go, but anyway.
That's a morning
As you
meeting.
said, no big rush on this.
The 30th, you said it was evening.
Thursday night at Delicious Heights, 5:30 to 7:30.
Yeah, they're probably doing a mixer. Because a lot of people have trouble getting to the morning meeting, just as you said, so they try every once in a while to vary it.
It's at Delicious Heights, I'm not sure how much business we're gonna get done over there. Take some people aside, maybe we can talk to them.
Well, you know, it'll be healthy.
And a rating.
No, they got a good rating, so. So, all right.
Or it could be burger. Right.
Anyway, okay, well, we will be waiting to hear, so. Videotaping. We have our subcommittee, Larry, Carolyn,
has the technical expertise. I have that in the middle. Do you think I should read it?
No,
Because,
no.
not everybody has a copy.
Could I read it?
Or, you have a nice voice.
You have to bring through the permits and raffles.
Yeah, I've had it.
Yeah.
I've said enough.
So we have two options. One is video with link storage on the town website. Basically, we videotape all the township meetings, as Basil's doing now. We put them on the website, and you could go back at least 2 years and see them. They would not be live, but they would be by the next day. Pretty much what you see now, it would just be the dais. You wouldn't be able to take a picture of anybody who's speaking, and some people have said they don't want their picture taken, so that would be fine, but we'd hear their voice, as we do now on the CDs. Wouldn't see Judy, that would be a loss, but it would be a stationary camera, that's why it would just be this, which is what Bernards Township does too. I don't know if anybody's looked at I'll save my comments for later. So that's what we are proposing. 1 hour of time, Sean estimates for each meeting for staff, so that would be 2 hours a month. Basically, the new IT person would do it. Let's see. It could go through YouTube, and it doesn't have to go through YouTube, right? If it doesn't go through YouTube, it would be a little more expensive. No?
Not necessarily more expensive. The only concern using YouTube or not using YouTube, if we were to upload video files to YouTube, a citizen could go to that YouTube page and just stream the video. The other option would be to just provide downloads to the video files through our website. That's a little more time intensive for whoever's trying to view the video. You actually have to download the full file to your computer, depending on your internet connection speed. It could take a little while. They're generally large files for video.
Take a while for the technician doing it, or for the person?
No, just for the person
I
downloading.
see. They would just mean they'd have to wait.
Yep.
Right, there wouldn't be any extra work they had to do, just wait.
No, it could take a while.
Okay. We're going to get money from Cablevision, we expect, starting in 2015, 2016, 2017. Supposed to get a total of $30,000, kind of not something we ever got before, but it's something we'll use for other technical or should be used for communication programs. We could use it for that. This is only going to cost, I think, Sean says, about $2,500 for the setup, the wiring, the cameras, and the first year, and then $500 a year for the storage, basically, for 2 years storage.
We had a couple of different storage options. So for everyone who can't see, what the idea is that the camera will be mounted right on this overhang over here, wide lens, capture all of us. As Carolyn said, we can capture anyone over there. So the equipment expense would be camera, the wiring to the recording system would be tied into where the mayor needs go and not go. Because it would be a township generated record, subjects it to Oprah. So therefore we would need to reproduce and make it available to anyone. So it's that really was one little additional expense associated with this. We would have to have the proper storage, and Sean came up with, we'd probably just get a dedicated hard drive to doing nothing but saving video. So in case someone wanted to pull up the video from October 2014, or whenever we have this system set up, that we could easily get it and comply with all the Oprah requirements. That would essentially be the hard cost. Eventually we would run out of storage on that hard drive, and we would probably need to supplement it we thought maybe every 4 years,
Yeah.
$500, $500.
In the cost estimate, I have a 1 terabyte hard drive in there, and just a kind of quick calculation of how long we could do that. 2 to 3 hour meeting might be around 8-9 gigabytes for HD video. So 1 terabyte would probably last us for 4 years. So that's a good amount of time. Of course, if it ever got expanded to other boards, you'd have to accommodate that as well.
Sean, as far as the requirement for for storage of the 2 years in Oprah, what is the requirement that we have to keep it in storage? Or make it available?
The duration?
I mean, or the original, one of the original, when this original proposal came up, one of the factors was it was gonna allow people who couldn't make a meeting to be able to see it, right? As opposed to accessing something from 2-3 years ago. So there wasn't the archival part of it as much as it was the availability. If we were to make a link and have it, not live streaming, but just a link, and then keep the link up for a certain period of time, and then take it down, what's, anyone, in some...
You have to look at the government record retention schedule that the state publishes to determine what length of time it would have to be kept, if any.
Well, if we keep an audio portion of it, are we having a simultaneous, are we keeping a simultaneous audio portion? Because that could satisfy the retention part of it without keeping the video.
Right.
Which
The
we
way
do
I
now.
understand it,
We do now.
when we looked into it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if it's no matter what format the record is, if it's generated by the township, so in this case, a video recording, it becomes part of the public record and therefore subject to Oprah. So that if there were an Oprah request for specifically the video file generated by the township at their meeting, we'd be required to provide it. Now, I don't know how long we'd have to keep that video file for. Currently, the audio files that we keep now, the file size on just audio is significantly smaller than an HD video would be, so we don't have any concerns that we keep those audio recordings indefinitely currently.
We have two, you have the state retention schedule, you're
Right.
doing it, and then you also have the Oprah requirements.
Yeah,
You have two different
Oprah
requirements.
is different. That's with respect to the right of the public to view it, and then the government record retention schedule has various year categories. For example, with planning board audio tapes, there's a certain period of time, same with zoning board and same with the tapes you have.
Right.
These meetings, I imagine it would probably be the same length of time that the tapes for these meetings are kept. But you can check with the state.
So it could be more than 2 years. I mean, 2 years on our server,
Sure.
but then they would have to put it off-site or on the cloud or something, right?
Yeah.
What about in towns that broadcast it live? Do they also have to have a backup recorded version if they're doing it live?
I don't know. I can tell you it's the township's policy as far as any day is concerned that we back everything up.
I mean, because this is where the real expenses are gonna come in after a period of time, is the storage.
Sure, as time goes on. And then there's also, there's methods to compress old files and actually archive them. So if 8 years down the road, we say, okay, we've got 8 years of video here, let's keep the, latest 2 years current and archive the other 6, you compress them down and save it into some other kind of media. So there's options there.
But aren't essentially these problems exactly the same as what we do with the audio? It's just a much bigger file.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the
I
audio,
mean, it's not anything new.
I mean, we could put the audio on a disc and.
You put the
in the
video
box.
on a DVD disc, I'm sure.
But it's just that the video sucks up so much memory that you
Well,
realize.
that's an idea,
why
but if you
need that
transferred it
consistent-
after a certain period of time to a disc, and you just kept the disc, and that was.
You'd have a whole lot of discs.
You really have to inquire the state, because if you're required to keep the audio might be the one that has to be kept, and the video might not even be a requirement.
Right, that's what I was, the other point,
So,
yeah.
but that's easy enough to do. You can look at the state schedule or check with the state, there's a person down there, you can make inquiries and find out.
The technology's probably gonna change so much, it'll be cheaper, but even if it doesn't, if we decide we can't afford it in 2, 3, 4 years, we don't video anymore. And we don't have to, we don't make it, we don't
I
have to
just like
provide
going
it.
forward, based on today's technology, what we need to do as far as, the requirements of Oprah and everything else. I mean,
Yeah, we looked into
how long we have to keep it, and what format we have to keep it. That's
Well,
what-
you have to be able to
Oprah
provide
is, understand the too, she said, it's not the statute that dictates how long you have to keep things.
I'm on the state retention schedule now.
Right,
and-
it's the
and
state
they have-
retention
yeah.
schedule that dictates how long
Okay.
you have to, and that's a separate statute. It's in Title 47, but it's in a different part.
Well, my question on this is, if we're gonna put one camera there, it's gonna have wide, almost fisheye type lens to get all 5 of us, plus John up here. What is the value added over the audio? I mean, if you're looking now, because I looked at the Bernardsville, or the Bernards Township video, and I was kind of disappointed when I saw it. Yeah, I can see it, but it looks like a security camera. All I see is blobs, heads. I can't tell if they're smiling, smirking, picking their nose, or whatever. It's just, I just see blobs.
We're not gonna do that. Theirs is not high definition. They decided to make it blurry so that they could chop it up into all these segments, right? Am I saying this right? If you looked on the Democrats' website and have you seen what Basil's doing? It's really clear and really good.
But that doesn't get everybody.
Yes, it does. It's everybody. It gets all of us.
Well,
Maybe
you know,
not.
Sean and I actually discussed that, and Sean felt that with a camera mounted there, that you could capture everyone clearly. And my recollection of Bernard's is they, you know, I think we discussed this previously, they actually dumbed down the quality because they're streaming it directly from their website. So if we use YouTube or we go to Dropbox, we wouldn't have to dumb it down. So it still could be in HD. Right.
But I mean, the actual, you know, the picture box, when you're looking at your
Picture box.
screen, and to get the field of view such that you can get everybody on the dais from there, or even if it was from the back of the room, the detail isn't going to be very good. I mean, if the point is to get, you know, people's facial expressions and reactions, I don't see where the value added is, other than you do have a picture, but I mean, we already get the audio, and to me, it's real easy. If you're going to wade through an hour and a half of a township meeting, and you have an MP3 file, you can throw it in your car and listen to it while you're driving and get the gist of it the same way.
You can also email that. We can also email minutes if they're audio. You can actually email that to somebody. They don't have to come down. So you can do that as well. I'm not saying one choice is better than the other, but if we do audio, you can click it as a file.
There's also a second option.
Well, there is a second option, and Carolyn was still running through the first option. We haven't gotten to the second option yet. So, I mean, and perhaps what we should do is Carolyn, if you agree, let's throw out both options.
Yeah.
And then let's go through the considerations.
Yeah, you talked about Oprah, and the only one I wanted to add, federal law allows any member of the public to videotape any public meeting and post it so that there are privacy issues. And we have to adopt rules and regulations governing it and announce them at the beginning of every meeting.
Do we? I don't know that we do.
No.
Because at this point, if that was a consideration when the idea was that you would have a camera mount that would also capture public, so the public would know about that. If it just pointed at us.
There's a state case that governs the right of the public to videotape. They have a right to videotape, as Basil has been doing. And the governing body has a right to adopt rules and regulations that reasonably regulate that so it doesn't become disruptive. But that's with the citizenry.
Right.
It doesn't apply to how we decide to film our own.
Right, I don't believe that we would have to, if we are mounting it here and it's the township, we wouldn't need rules and regulations, so there would have to be no.
You know, in terms of you want to do every meeting, the whole meeting, you don't want to do half a meeting and cut off, you know what I mean? You want to just have regulations saying, we will take every meeting, the whole meeting.
Well, you want to do it in the same manner that the audio is done here.
Right.
Leave off
Right.
the permit and raffle part.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll snip that out.
Unless
You
you
can
have
creatively
one
edit me out, that'd be
voice.
fine. So anyway, but, yeah, it seems, and for the people that.
Hey, wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're still
Oh,
we're
okay.
still going through the presentation.
All right, I'll be quiet.
This is just what we've proposed, the rest we could all talk about the pros and cons. And the number two, and the cost is approximately 2,000 startup, then 500 a year for a 500 GB, whatever that is, gigabyte Dropbox that would store 2 years of meetings. If we wanted to store more meetings, then annual cost would be increased, right?
Right, so, and the reason why I have a local hard drive and cloud storage there is for purposes of redundancy, like we talked about. Since all of our records are subject to Oprah, we do make sure that we back everything up, particularly with cloud storage, it's something that's out of your control, sure, it's something that we could probably trust, but we would also like to have something physically here that we have control over.
So suppose we had to do 10 years of storage, or store everything, and by then, who knows what technology's gonna be doing. Would that be another 500 a year, do you think? Another 100 a year?
Well, storage gets cheaper as time goes
Okay,
on.
so we're
Yeah,
not talking a
I
big,
really-
huge amount of money, right?
I couldn't tell you what that would cost.
Okay, then
10
the
years down the road.
employee, if it's 2 hours a month, we just hired someone at 30 an hour, so we're talking $60 a month, maybe 90 for the employee.
Right, and then what you're talking about there as far as staff time, you have to take the video file and the audio file from our system, merge it together, and then edit out any, executive session, beginning and end of the tape.
So just to confirm, editing means stopping, not editing anything within the video itself.
No, editing meaning cleaning up dead space at the beginning, dead space at the end. If you all go into executive session, you don't want an hour of dead time on the recording, you cut that out.
Well, if it is connected to a recording system, presumably you have to stop.
Well, again, it sounds like it would be handled the same way our audio is.
Right, so it should
So I will-
end when that's clicked off and start back up when we return from the executive session.
Which is how the audio works now. Judy starts it and stops at the beginning of the meeting. Of course, she does that a few minutes prior to, or a minute prior to, and right at the end. So it will be the same process.
Okay, the second option, audio only with link storage on website. Basically what we're doing now, not now, but presently, recording the audio, and instead of going to town hall requesting that a CD be made, you can access it on the website. It wouldn't be live, just like the video, and it'd be available the next day. And there would really be no additional cost with that. Right, you would just have the audio.
We have that set up currently.
Sean
I
had
can
to
show
set up
you
if you wanted to see
what that would look like. It's nothing too exciting, but.
All right?
So the only difference here is you no longer have to come into town hall and request a CD. We've got it up on the website.
Could you email this if somebody called and requested, could you?
Absolutely, we could do that. This should be easier. We actually have links right on the website.
Well, why would you if they could just go to our website and get it? You would need to email it.
But yeah, you absolutely could. Should come up any second now. So what we're doing with this is we have a Dropbox account set up. It's cloud storage. They give you up to 2 gigabytes of storage for free, which we're taking advantage of now. Since the audio files are so much smaller, the free Dropbox account is sufficient for about 2 years of meetings or so. So right here under Township Committee, where you would normally just find your meeting minutes, we have down here at the bottom. Township Committee recordings. And we just put a couple meetings in here for purposes of example, but all you do is click on the meeting you want. This brings up the Dropbox link. You download the file. And this is the video downloading. And as I mentioned with the video, you'll see this is taking a few seconds to download here. This file is a fraction of the size that a 8 or 9 gigabyte video file would be. So Mayor, to your point about the quality of the video that you saw, I assume that they're compressing that video so that this download time isn't quite as long. If you were to put up a full HD video,
Yeah, I guess the word I heard was that Bernard's Township had nice video, but they didn't have the bandwidth to get it off the premises.
Correct. And so here we're listening to our September 15th meeting.
Things monitored recently, but
So that's it. That's how we have it set up currently. We can start that tomorrow and put the rest of the meetings that we have up there.
Now, I would assume that if we had it to YouTube, right, it would be faster to download and things like
Yeah,
that.
with YouTube, you're not actually downloading a
Right.
file, you're streaming it right.
Streaming it, right. The only problem that I would see with YouTube is, number one, we lose possession of it, right? It's out there, it becomes property of YouTube, doesn't it, essentially?
Right, which is where the storage concerns originated from. When we first started talking about it, we said, oh, well, we can just upload it to YouTube and forget about it. But like I said, at that point, the files are out of our control. There's no guarantee, to access of those files, and there's no guarantee of duration, how long they're going to keep them up on their site. So that's why we said we'd have storage of our own in addition to if we were going to use YouTube.
The other part of YouTube is when they put it up there, I mean, we can't control the advertisements that are out there with it. We can't control the other videos that they post alongside it, which their algorithm thinks are compatible with that, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be another township meeting from some other place, so our video is up there along with whatever YouTube deems appropriate.
I don't have much experience with YouTube. There may be a way to set up our own channel so that doesn't happen, but that's something we'd have to look into.
We don't have to use YouTube though.
No, we don't. So the only reason was it was streaming and it would be faster than the download off of our cloud or our server, right?
Now when you go on the Democrat website and look at it, not for the Democrats, but there's no advertising, right? Well, I screen it out anyway, but.
Well, I mean, it's not to say that YouTube won't go to some paid or non-paid model or it has advertising or track you and then whoever viewed it and then you end up getting something popping up. Who knows? I don't really know about these, but I think that they can do it. If they can make money doing it, they'll do it.
Is the committee proposing both proposals?
Well,
Do you have one?
we're throwing it out there. The video has about, as Carolyn said, about $2,000 and some $500 expense going forward. Maybe that's every 2 years, maybe it's every 3 years, depending on how it works. The audio doesn't cost us anything, and we can stream it directly from the website. We're throwing it out there. I took liberty in our presentation memo of throwing some considerations out there, and as any lawyer would do, I start with the obvious question, which is whether we support internet access for the recordings of the township committee meetings, period, whether they are audio or video. Because if the answer is no, that we don't want any internet access, then the conversation's done. If the answer is yes, then we would proceed to the merits of audio versus video, or perhaps we do both audio and video. So we're throwing it out there.
If you're looking for an opinion, I think I would be fine with having the audio start right away and posting it on the
No,
web.
wait. The first consideration was, do we support internet access
Yes.
for our meetings, period?
Yes.
Yeah,
All
well,
right, okay.
Yes.
So we have some.
for audio.
Okay.
At this point.
I didn't qualify audio or video, I just said any
All right,
recording.
all right. Yes, Mr. Attorney,
Okay.
just answer the question. I understand.
Thank you.
Do I have to gavel you?
Please just answer the question.
Okay, so if there is consensus that there should be internet access to our recordings, now we get to the merits of audio, video, or both.
Well, question I have is, I know Basil has recorded our work sessions on the budget in the other room. Do we feel if we did go to video, would we also have to record those? Video-wise. We already recorded audio.
We don't look at, I think what Carolyn said at the beginning is, look, we can decide that we're going to record every meeting. And we may say it may only be the regular scheduled meetings, the township committee, if we do budget sessions over there,
may be separate.
And you say
and we
agenda
can
meetings
have
and
that
not work
distinction of
sessions, right?
choosing one or the other.
We have work sessions and we have
Yeah, we don't
agenda
do
meetings.
everything. We can do
don't
what we
do
want.
everything. Right, John? We would have to do everything. It's
You
at our
could set
discretion.
your rules and regulations, because essentially there's no statute
Yeah,
that
it's not
governs
government.
Yeah,
this.
right.
You don't have to video meetings at all, so that being said, you could decide which ones you want to do or not do.
So, Mr. Attorney, what is the ask again? I'm sorry.
Okay, so,
I
so the,
lost track.
okay, so we're now at the merits of audio versus video, or once again, and perhaps doing both. So, you know, one of the things that as we get into this is, you know, we asked Judy, you know, how much effort and how much interest there is in the audio recordings presently, and to the extent that you do get into hot meetings, does this take anything off your plate as far as responding to FOIA or OPRA requests for records or anything else?
This proposal take any of that work away?
Yes.
No. We're still gonna get requests for, even if you have the audio or the video online available on the website, or the video available on the website, there are still those residents in town that don't do computers, and, still come in for the CDs, so, you know, they don't do computers. So we get that, we're still gonna get those.
You're still gonna get that?
And they'll probably come in and ask for the DVD, or ask for the CD, whichever.
Or the tape?
Or the tape.
But we're still working on tape.
Well, you wouldn't have to make a DVD for them. If we decide to do the videotaping and it's available on the website, you
Then
would
you
just
would.
say it's
Yeah.
available on the website.
Yeah,
Over, you
it's
would.
whatever electronic medium
They
they
request.
If they wanted it on a USB, that's on a USB. If they
Isn't there a court case on that?
About their number of
What
cases.
kind of medium you have to make available?
Right, you know, provided it's reasonable, and that if it's something that requires an extraordinary amount of time, there can be a service charge imposed, but you have to go on the service charge ahead of time.
But I guess to Larry's question, or at least to my question, when this first came up, on an average, year to year to year to year to year, we've had these audio recordings for an awful long time. How often do we get requests for the audio?
Honestly, Mr. Scopertis is probably my best customer, because he gets recording, he hasn't lately, because I think he has a different process or a new camera that he uses, but, we don't get that many.
I know I've asked you for once or twice over
I've
the
gotten
years.
about 7 or 8.
But I mean, are you getting them?
Maybe
You know, are you looking at 1 or 2 a month?
1 or 2 a month
12 a
tops.
week, or 15 a month?
1 or 2 a month tops at this point.
That's for what we currently do.
Do we want to speak first, or do we want to get?
Yeah, Larry,
Oh,
where are we with the
okay.
questions?
So, you know, I mean, I guess perhaps we can just, you know, let me run through what I did as consideration. So assessing the benefits and the expense of the audio or video recording. So one question, we'll start with some policy issues. You know, what we've heard in the past is that this is a transparency issue. In my mind, it's not a transparency issue. I mean, we record the meetings, the meetings are free and open and everything else. This is a convenience issue, and essentially convenience and access. So by offering it through the internet, it's a convenience to our residents. So I'm just going to put that out there. From a convenience standpoint, yes, there is an expense, and it's a balancing of the convenience we would be providing, the need demonstrated, or the interest in that convenience, or having that convenience, versus that expense of both the capital expense and whatever staff time we're devoting to it. Judy had indicated that this would probably have minimal impact on her
position as township clerk, responding to those Oprah or FOIA requests. One of the other questions threw out there was, does video access encourage or discourage attendance at TC meetings, and is that something that we want to promote as a public policy?
I'm sorry, just getting back to, but what Judy said was, she didn't think, because of the nature of having to get actual media, that it wouldn't reduce it.
Correct.
It would, it would remain unchanged.
Right, we threw it out there, and we threw it out there, would it have an impact, and her answer was likely no. Staff time, you know, right now I think Sean is anticipating an hour, perhaps with anything else we would see that reduce as you bring on an expert and someone actually gets used to quickly taking the file and getting it up. Eventually we may have additional expense if we require more storage. I guess that's subject to the state retention requirements. If the state retention is only for a 2 or 4 year period, then the 1 terabyte, it was 1 terabyte? 1 terabyte may be adequate for long term. Then the other issue, which is, while as exciting as we all are, as I look at the camera, and certainly your recitation of permits and raffles is perhaps Oscar worthy.
You could lose that.
We could lose that. But there are actually perhaps more interesting things that go up on this dais than the 5 of us. Land use board meetings, which may generate more interest from the public than we. Now, what we're talking about today is only TC recordings. But perhaps land use board hearings, this could be expanded, and John, I don't know if you would have to put rules and regs in effect for the planning board, and whether or not we could use the same system, the same recording system over here for the planning board. Or there are certainly perhaps greater interest in some of those meetings than our meetings.
Is there any prohibition or anything, when the land use board sits as a board of adjustment, does that change whether you can or can't record?
No, Berners for years had the planning board meetings televised. The zoning board has recently decided to televise their meetings. They obviously don't televise a closed session. Their setup is a little bit different. I actually watched the planning board meeting last week. And as you said, the people that are on the dais, you can't really see their expressions because the camera is so far in the back, but what you do see closer up is the people that are at the podium. You see the back of them, and you see the people in the audience. It was interesting to me because I never actually watched a Berners meeting in all my years. I'm at them, I don't watch them, but I wanted to watch this particular planning board meeting. So again, I would think the township committee can determine the rules and regulations that govern how the board meetings are broadcast. If you wish to do that as a policy matter or not.
And then the last bullet point I had was eventually we have to make a decision. That's it.
I was gonna say, do we want to get audience comments and then have Laura comments, or should be Laura comments and then audience comments, or what do you think? Mayor?
How can you make a decision without talking to the audience first?
Well, you've twisted my arm. Well, why don't we entertain? We've got a few people here tonight, and if you wish to come up for the microphone, the same rules apply for the public comment. State your name, where you live, and speak your piece.
Good evening, Mayor and Committee. Peg Schaefer, 25 Ashley Court. How are you this evening? So, I have an opening question. Why not have Cablevision televising? Then you don't have an Oprah issue. And in many of the towns...
Most of the township doesn't get that, or a good portion of it doesn't.
Well, then get Comcast and Cablevision.
What about those that don't get either?
Well, then I think then we can probably get the tape from Cablevision or Comcast. I mean, I think what I mean, that there are many towns that do this, that actually have a third party, the vendor with whom you negotiate to provide cable service in the community. Part of what they give you as fair deal for having essentially a monopoly in your town is a public access channel. I mean, sometimes it's like watching grass grow, because you get to watch C-SPAN. We've watched the Senate in action. We've watched, many governmental agencies. But frankly, and with all due respect, Mr. Jacobs, I really do think it's about transparency. I think it's about watching who participates and who doesn't participate. Also, to the extent you're able to actually see who's coming before the committee and what they say and your reactions to what they say. There have been, not with this particular council, but there have been issues or committee issues in the past where some people sitting up there didn't treat constituents with the appropriate respect. That's something that committee people ought to be able to see, but they ought to be able to see it in real time. They ought to be able to turn on their television and watch whatever they want to watch. So that the purpose, at least from my perspective, and from the perspective of towns that do have the cable company filming the meetings, is for people who can't get to the meetings or really can't fit the schedule. So they can videotape it, or they can DVR it, or they can watch it live. They can watch it in the middle of the afternoon, but they don't have to go to duty. It does save duty time. It eliminates the Oprah problem. And I don't know whether we've considered that, or if we haven't considered it, why don't we consider it?
Well, can I answer that? Because with Cablevision, which came up for renewal last year, I did a lot of work on that. And the problem there was that Cablevision covers the hills, but nothing else, so that they didn't cover town hall. So it would have been complicated. It would have had to been sent to the hills, and the Hills Village Master Association wanted nothing to do with it. Pam Waller wanted nothing to do with it. They actually used to have a public access channel operating out of the Hills Village Master Association office, but she said they want nothing to do with it anymore.
Well, but
So
they're not the government.
Right, well, it's only.
They may think they are,
Yeah,
but they're not.
I know, the problem is, it's only the Hills that has Cablevision. Comcast could have done it, but that happened, I think it was my first year on the Township Committee. I think it started the year before I was on the Township Committee. I do remember the tail end of it, but anyway, I guess nobody asked them to do it, basically, is what happened. And now they have a 10-year franchise renewal. However, at any time, you can ask them.
They still want to be good citizens. I mean, they still, and again, we've seen this in other towns. My firm represents a couple of towns. We've also represented Comcast years ago, not anymore. But I know that they're willing to make those arrangements with municipalities, and I think that Bedminster at least ought to explore that when I hear about the various costs, and I think some of you are leaning toward, trying to minimize the cost, obviously, and stick with the audio. I don't think the audio is good enough. And if there's a way to get the video and the audio without having all of the concomitant problems that you're discussing, I think we should at least look into it. Thank you.
Good evening, Basil Scopertis, 19 Steeplechase Court. The video does make a difference. Just ask Ray Rice. The audio, when you ask the question, has Judy given out any audio to anybody? Obviously, it's going to be self-fulfilling prophecy of it being low because the audio doesn't cut it. You don't have a commentator on the audio explaining who's saying what. It's not like you're listening to a baseball game on the radio and who's up to bat. So somebody has to be really familiar with the voices of each individual member in this room to really get the full value of the audio. And a lot of people that would want it don't, especially if you put it up on the web. It's a bad product in a sense. It doesn't really give the full story. Now, in my efforts, which started on December 2nd, I've recorded a total of 15 videos, totaling about 20 hours. Within those 20 hours, and you can see this on the YouTube channel, which is called Bedminster Democrats. That's the name of our channel on YouTube, which, by the way, does not have advertising. And I could demonstrate that to you live here, if you like. We got a total of 756 views from these videos. So they are being seen, because if you put a better product out there, people will take advantage of it. And it is convenient, for people that are busy and want to be more involved and want to be at these meetings but can't. Being able to see a video on demand is great, and by putting it on YouTube, which, by the way, I have 20 hours of video, high definition video on YouTube completely for free. There's been no glitches so far, but I've been using them, for almost a year now. And you could see everything crystal clear. The sound is great. In fact, I could pull up a town hall meeting right here on my smartphone and watch it right now.
How many
If I wanted
different
to.
IP addresses?
How many different IP addresses? That's not reported on YouTube, so I couldn't tell you. But it's
Because a view count can be run up by very quickly. It's
yeah,
how
I
many
just gotta
different
click it
people-
again and again and again. But, I don't think anybody has time to do it 756 times,
I've done it
So,
No, it was 652 as a Friday, so apparently you had a lot of business over the weekend. Sounds like 1/7 of your business came since Friday.
no, I just counted it up just now before I came to the meeting, literally an hour ago, and I tallied up the numbers. Basically, some meetings obviously got more than others. The one that got the most views was on December 2nd, and that was 200 views for one meeting. And that was the meeting, which was pretty intense here, when Mr. Haltway did a presentation about merging or having the different fire departments work together along with the first aid squad as well. So my assumption is that a lot of members that are volunteers probably wanted to see what happened at that meeting because a lot of them could not attend. So that had the most views. One meeting on December 16th had 84. I mean, it just depends. Some have 17, some have 59. The most recent one I got, which was September 15th, had 49 views. So somebody's not sitting there like constantly reloading the video now. I can assure you of that. I might explain 3, 4, 5 of those, but not all.
Well, I looked at it for the first time on Friday because I saw it was coming up with my package. And I did the same thing. I looked and see how many hits there were. And there was, as of Friday, about mid-morning, 652. So somehow you got an extra 100 over the weekend. How many?
Well,
I look at it, and one thing that strikes me is, because I'm sure you're right, there's no way you can split out how many different people viewed it, how many different IP addresses. That would be a really interesting fact. But so the other question is, well, is it just running up the numbers, or is there a lot of juice to this, meaning interest in it? So I also went further on it, and I looked to see, well, all these YouTube things have a comment section. And so all of your meetings, I wonder, well, geez, I wonder what people are saying about us. I know there's lots of forums where people have lots to say about us, some good, some bad. And I would think this would be a really hotbed for that sort of thing. And on the one that you cited on December 2nd, I saw 2 comments. One was probably you introducing it. This is our inaugural thing. And then there was a comment right afterwards that says, nice job. And then I looked at all the rest of the meetings, and I saw 0 comments. Nobody, good job, bad job, that guy's a fake, I don't like him, don't like her, yay, keep going, do this more. So I have my own questions about how, is there a lot of interest, or do we just have a lot of hits? And I don't know, and I don't know that we can answer that. To me, it's an open-ended question.
Well, it's kind of a catch-22 though, again, because if you just stick to the audio, then you have a diminished medium, basically, which you don't know who's saying what, you don't see body language. And with the video, you get more information. That's basically it, and might devise more interest. I'll tell you, there was one video on there which only got 4 hits. You know which one that was? The one that only had audio on it. I actually couldn't attend one of the meetings, so I bought the audio from the town. I posted on YouTube with a title throughout the whole video saying the date of the meeting. And that one is the one that got the least hits. That was just 4.
That was me.
So,
well, I spent a couple of years living down in D.C., and they have a really great setup down there. There is a C-SPAN radio station, which does the same thing that the video channel does with the audio, and it's pretty enlightening. So,
well, all I'm saying is this has been great for us as a Democratic Party because it's definitely brought traffic to our website and has allowed us to participate and elevate our exposure, as well. So I have to say, out of self-interest, if you don't go for the video, it's a benefit to us as a party. I gotta say that. I also want to say that Mary Jane Fennell offered to purchase the video camera, and I'm offering to purchase the audio interface that's required to hook up the camera directly to the audio produced by the town. So I'd like to offer that up as well to reduce the cost. Thank you.
Thank you.
Charles Ader for Wildflower Lane. Not to reiterate anything that Basil said, but in my corporate environment, we use YouTube video consistently. We use it to process training programs, training videos, announcements, all kinds of what we call fluff stuff for our employees so that they can get to see their bosses because they're all over the country and they can't be there at the same time. We've had no security issues, no security breaches. We have our own private channel. It's supported by the company. And, so I can't stress enough how ease of use it is to use the YouTube. We've been doing it for years. One of the things that you talked about of how the poor quality of the video is in Bedminster Township. If you're using a high definition camera and you're watching the video from an iPad, you can zoom in right on that person. You can see a pimple on their nose. I mean, it is that crystal clear. We do it all the time. You know how many times I have to reshoot videos for people in my office because all of a sudden something showed up, a blemish on their face, or the sun hit them the wrong way or something like that, because it shows up. It will pick up everything.
So
Which
no
is great.
Photoshop.
Which is great. I mean,
No
if you think about it, when HD television first came out, newscasters were afraid of it. They didn't want it because it all of a sudden showed everything on their face. And you could see how big their pores were, you could see if they were sweating or not. But they got
trying to convince us to do this?
They got used to it, and guess what? People love it. People buy bigger televisions so that they can see more of it. They become interested. It's all about in the product. Whether it's 600 placement of video views or 700 views that Basil talks about, well, guess what? That's 600 or 700 people that never came to the Township Committee meeting to see that particular event that was going on. That's 600 or 700 people out of only 8,000. That's almost 10% of the population of the town viewed those videos in the course of the year. And as more and more people become aware of it, more and more people are going to use it. It's all about advancing the product. How many times I used to get CDs regularly of the audio. You couldn't tell who was speaking. Sometimes the voice was garbled and you couldn't tell what was being said, no matter if you could make out who was saying it or not, right? And in fact, one meeting in this past year, Basil had to volunteer to donate his audio portion of his video back to the town so that they could have an audio recording of one of the meetings, because the audio equipment was so bad, the recording was so bad that no one could understand what was going on. So even to preserve the own record, Basil had to donate his audio portion back to the town. So I would encourage you that, yes, it is a transparency issue. More and more people are using it. And more and more people will use it going forward. It's something that has to happen. The cost, you have folks now that are willing to donate the equipment, and I don't know about you, but if you bought a computer recently, you probably looked at having a terabyte in your own personal computer at home because it's so cheap and so economical. 2 years ago, you wouldn't even consider having a terabyte's worth of storage on your computer. That price goes down and down and down. Storage, you will be able to get, I think right now you're at 128 or something on a little flash drive, right? You could download a whole year's worth of videos on one little, memory stick at this point. I'm going to beat a dead horse, but it's something that has to happen. The technology is going to keep advancing, whether the Township Committee keeps up with it or not, and the people of the town are going to get pissed off that you're not keeping up with it. So, thanks.
Always groups of 3, right? Kim Lazarus, 10 Lock Haven Court. I'd like to start by saying the Township Committee has great skin. You're a handsome group, and I think you'll show up very nicely on the video. That's the first one. Secondly, I'm going to quote the Dalai Lama. And he said, "A lack of transparency results in distrust and a deep sense of insecurity." We don't want to be, at this point, I know the Dalai Lama is an interesting quote, but nonetheless, we don't want to be a laggard. We want to be a leader. We want to keep up with the times. I'm in industry as well, as many of you are. And over 80% of people with iPhones are using YouTube. The index is very pronounced in 60 plus. They're actually behind the 24 and below. They're the ones who are using YouTube the most. So in any event, I think if you look at the composition of our township, you look at who is the database and the statistics as to whom is using YouTube, there's no reason why we shouldn't have it. So in any event, we'll make it short and sweet. There's no reason. Let's have the awareness for the township. Let's use YouTube and let's make this an easy choice.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so let's move it towards the committee.
Thank you, Mayor. I think as Larry tried to point out, a couple of threshold questions, and the first one would be the value of having videotape. Now, whether we use our own storage, our own internet access with a link, whether we use YouTube, that's something we can determine, at some point with the most efficient and easiest way to do it, without getting into all the technical. How long is it going to take to download from YouTube versus from our website, how much storage we're going to need, how much we're going to pay for storage. I think I would agree that the video age is upon us and that everything is video and everybody has one of these, and it just seems everything at some point goes back to video. So it's probably a difficult argument to make why something shouldn't be taped when as time goes by it becomes less inexpensive, more accessible. Technology allows it to be probably, some would argue, too prevalent, but that's the way we're going. So I'm inclined to say I think we should do the video. How we're going to do it, I'm not quite certain yet. I think I've got a couple of more questions to ask on that, as far as, like I said, storage and access and reliability and quality and things like that. But I'm inclined to say, we should take the meetings. Now, once again, not all meetings, but as at our discretion, and how we think which meetings, necessarily should be videotaped. We could start out with, I think, the township meetings, at least the agenda sessions, and not any budget or work sessions.
Just to summarize, I think Basil, who's been doing it, said it better than I could, but it's not expensive, isn't going to take much staff time. If there is a huge problem and it's going to be expensive, we stop doing it. It's not like we're committing to something expensive, in this age of technological advancement, I can't even say it, when everyone's taking photos and videos, I don't think there's any reason why we can watch idiots on TV getting dressed in the morning and talking to each other and buying handbags. Why shouldn't we have town meetings available for people to watch? Might bring up their level of viewing. Bernard's does it, Hillsborough does it, Somerville's been doing it for a long time, Warren does it, and we'd be in good company. Bernardsville plans to do it, but of course they're debating how, when, and how expensive. And the thing about no demand, I think Basil addressed that pretty well. The thing is, though, in the last 3 or 4 years, there hasn't been anything exciting happening in township committee meetings, really. That's a good thing, I guess, but at some point, if the solar farm should come to us, I think probably we'll get a lot of hits, if something exciting happens, and that's when you really want to have it available. When something controversial happens, you get away from the he said, she said, oh, did you hear? And you say, go to the video and see what I said, and the quality is really good. I looked at it on my iPhone at work, and I could zoom in and see expressions, and then I've gotten about, over the years, 3 years, I've gotten 7 or 8 CDs when I said, "Gee, did I say that?" And I wanted to hear the audio tape to see what I really said, because I was in the zone and I was going off at the mouth and I didn't know. Gee, not me. Anyway, it was really hard to follow, and I was there. And like they were telling me, I think at Bernard's, that if you're going to do just audio, then you really have to be a commentator. You have to be like the radio and announce everybody, and we can't interrupt. You know, it's hard. If you want to have a good audio tape, you have to really get an announcer. You'll have to turn into Walter Cronkite. And most people don't know what happened until after it happened. And I don't know about your experience with the Burnsville News, but mine hasn't been real good. They tend to sensationalize, and I find that the things that I say that are sensational get in the paper, and the reasonable things I say don't get in the paper. And you know, do you want that to be the record of what happened? You know, people are going to read that, but they're not going to get a CD and listen to it. The nice thing about the video is I found the fast forwarding to be easier for some reason than with the audio tape, but that could just be my lack of technical expertise. What else? The minutes that we have of our township meetings they're an outline, they're skimpy, there's a lot missing from them. I'm not saying that we should have a court stenographer and we should have them verbatim, but the fact is you can't rely on them to see what happened, which is why I've gone and gotten 7 or 8 audio tapes, because I wanted to see what happened so that I could amend the minutes, but I wanted to be accurate. And like I said, it would be so much easier, whether it's audio or video, it would be so much easier for it to be on the website. And you know, as Basil said, the Democrats have been videotaping, and they will continue to do so because Basil has trained Charles, and he's going to train other people to do it when he can't come. And I think it would be a lot better for us, putting on my township committee hat, and not my Democratic candidate hat. I think it would be a lot better for the township to provide it. It would be better for us than for the Democrats to provide it. You know, that's it. Thank you.
Well, as I look at the 2 proposals, I think one is a no-brainer. I think the audio access provides convenience, as Mr. Jacobs said. You know, right now you can either come down and get a disc, or you can have the convenience of not having to come downtown and you can get a disc or get an audio MP3 file off the website. And I think that's something that doesn't really cause a lot of stress or move the needle very far, but it'll provide more access. Look, I come out of a radio background. I actually worked in radio at one point, and what you hear is what happened. All the things about minutes, what people said, you can hear it. C-SPAN has a radio station. You can also pick it up, I think, on the Sirius and the XM. But I know they have it down in DC, and I can't stand sitting in front of a tube just watching a figure just talk. I would rather be doing something else and just have the MP3. You can pick it up while you jog. You can pick it up while you drive. So I guess my issue is I don't see the value added in the video, and I may be in the minority on this committee with that. But I think what we're going to end up getting is a large field of view. It'll be a security camera. Yeah, there'll be a video. There'll be a lot of back and forth if the camera doesn't work or there's an issue with it. But right now we already have an audio record, and the audio record tells you what people said. It gives voice inflections. No, does it get whether you raised an eyebrow or whatever? But I don't think in the end, I think that's more of an emotional issue and not the facts, what was said. There was some question as to why the cable companies aren't providing it. Well, we're a town with 2 cable companies and a huge landmass in the town that isn't served by any cable companies. And we've gone around and around about that, and there doesn't appear to be a good solution for that. And that was something that was discussed much earlier. Demand for it. You know, the demand for the tape seems to be a very small group of people, and it's usually the people that are partisan, that are very interested in what's going on between now and the first Tuesday in November. And that's what we've historically had for the audio tapes. That doesn't mean they shouldn't be available, and maybe it'd be more convenient to have them on the website. But I think a lot of this is based on keeping insiders happy. I would like to know how many different people are looking at it. I will bet you a week's worth of lunch that it isn't 750 different people in town. Now, what is it? Could it be 500 people? Could it be 3 people? Could it be 12 people? I don't know, and we're probably not going to get that answer. But I believe that the audio is more than adequate. It's something that we don't already do. We're not going to get the citizens' reaction. We're not going to get to see who the people are that come up before us. You'll only get audio of that, which is essentially what we have now. I don't think there's an issue with storage. I think how we handle it, how we store it, where we store it, why we store it, how it's available. I think video, audio, it's essentially the same. The numbers are different as to whether you need more bytes of storage, but I don't think that's insurmountable. So I don't have a problem with that. I don't necessarily have a problem with you videoing or anybody videoing the meeting. They're free citizens. Everybody's got a camera in their pocket just about now. There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody's going to be upset or embarrassed or have an issue with that. But I just don't think it really adds that much value.
Okay. So, after what feels like several years of this subcommittee meeting,
I could add some
no, please.
permits and raffles.
Please. My approach was to avoid the politicization of this issue, which I think has undermined it. And despite the references that this is about transparency, this is about convenience and providing service to our community, as opposed to transparency. But I do believe this is a convenience and service that is worthwhile. I do believe that there will be a benefit. Sean and I discussed the quality of the video, with whether it's a fisheye lens or something else that would capture all of us. And Sean felt pretty comfortable that we could provide quality video from there. So, I think we are okay on the quality, and I recognize that there is a benefit, and I do believe that video will probably generate greater interest than audio. There was a question that Ms. Schaefer had about the public access, and my recollection of the discussions with Cablevision were twofold. One is there was a complete lack of interest from the Hills associations to have public access. And also, it's also my understanding that the money that we're getting is essentially in lieu of that. John, is that your recollection?
Yeah, when we negotiate, I was actually, the clerk just saying how long you have to keep these things, because I asked her, but I don't have my readers on. So I'm going to borrow yours in a second, but let me then answer Mr. Jacobs' question. We had, as I recall, negotiated a stipend. Was it 15 and 15?
It's 15, 10, and 5.
Right, and we could use that for
Any type of communications
any type of
project.
communications or technology purposes that are permissible.
Right.
So that was in lieu of getting a public access, dedicated public access channel.
Right.
Plus also avoiding the complications that where we are physically is not in the Cablevision jurisdiction.
Right.
My clerk tells me 80 days after the meeting, they can be destroyed with permission from the state.
80 days? You get a lot on one terabyte hard drive, huh?
Sure.
Okay. So, John,
That's the video.
That's the video.
Video, yes.
All right. So, where I come down on this is that this is a service, and I think the $2,000, I think it's going to be well worthwhile. Yes, I am troubled that the hits went from 600, you said 650 to 7 something?
652 is what I had Friday.
Okay, so even if this has been a politicized event, I believe it's our duty to separate the political element from the policy element. And from a policy element, I just think this is a worthwhile expenditure and service that we can provide. And I think that we can do so cheaply and effectively. And I think we can manage this well. And I do believe that if we really only have 80 days, then that hard drive system is going to serve us well, and that may even allow us, John, I'm going to presume that
that retention holds for the planning board or other boards that we may wish
I
to
would think it would,
access.
but since,
I'm not asking for a legal opinion on this podcast.
right,
I'm just saying
Denise
that
obviously
it's-
has been doing this for some years now. I would trust her, opinion, but that seems to be a reasonable period of time since the audio has to be kept longer anyway, notwithstanding that your video, taping. And I do know there's also requirements for keeping audio for both, planning board and zoning board meetings. Although on some controversial applications, various secretaries of boards keep them longer. They don't have to, but they do.
And I, as to YouTube access, Bernie, your concerns, I'm fine with YouTube access. I mean, if that's the best and most expedient way of delivering the product, and certainly commercially reasonable to do so.
Well, I heard somebody mention that you get your own private YouTube channel, so that it's, I don't know what kind of restrictions go with that or control you get over that, but, you know, as long as we have some modicum of control over it, and it's just not out there.
But it is gonna be out there. I mean, and let's talk about that for an issue. It's out there.
But I'm just saying, as far as
If someone's
being able to have some security control, or maybe there is no security.
There is no security control. This is a free and open meeting, which is why I take issue with the reference to that we're not being transparent, which I once again, it's a politicized comment. What the video that Basil does, it can go out there. Anyone can come in here and take a video. This is not where that video goes, how it gets manipulated is irrespective.
I'll be more specific. I'm not sure. If we have it off of our server or our cloud, or we have it's coming out of us, I don't know, versus YouTube, and maybe somebody that can tell me the ability of somebody to go in there and edit it. Okay?
You want me
How
to,
does that work?
do you want me to address
Well,
that?
there won't be anyway.
No, I mean, as opposed from coming from our server versus being out there somewhere.
You can download it off our server and edit it also.
I'm sorry, one at a time.
Doesn't make a difference. If it's out there, it's out there. It can be captured.
All right. My question is basically, is one more secure than the other?
That someone could get into YouTube, into the Bedminster Township program, screw it around, and someone else could be saying permits and raffles other than Steve.
Yeah, it's not a matter of getting into anything. It's once the video is out there, it could then be captured and then edited, changed.
No matter where it's
No matter where it is.
No matter where it's sourced from.
They can turn us all into cartoons.
That answers my question. That's fine.
So, once again,
Lips on there and.
May I say something?
Insult.
We're gonna finish the township committee.
Okay.
I think we're done with public comment at this point on this issue. So we're not taking a vote. We're just having open discussion. So where I end up, I depoliticize it. I say I support this from a policy position. Video, that is.
Okay, first I want to thank you, Larry, Carolyn, Sean, Judy, for doing all the hard work behind the scenes on this. I think it's important that you brought it forward. I would recommend keeping the committee intact as we move forward to explore the issues as we talk about, what format and timing and all those issues. But I support both video and audio as well. But I think as a committee, we've done a great job bringing it forward and explaining the issues.
And once again, thank you to Sean and Judy for the coordination and for all they meet. Thank you, Sean, again and again and again. And also some thanks to the folks in Berners Township who opened up their facility so that we could see the underbelly of what they did and why they did it. And they record everything in HD, but they do not stream in HD. It was because of bandwidth.
Chop it up into whole segments.
Well, they do. They do slice and dice it, so you can still do that. But we actually had the opportunity to see, I want to say raw footage, but it was pretty impressive what they do. But remember, they had a $150,000 grant.
I'm not sure the
technology
budget
package.
or what they do behind
It was really impressive.
They seem to get a lot of hits. Well, when they have controversial things, they get quite a lot of hits, and when they have board meetings, they don't get hits, you know.
All right. So,
So we've had a discussion,
we've had a discussion.
and even though we're not gonna take a vote, I think I can figure out what the sense of this committee is. So I wanna thank Carolyn and Larry and Judy and Sean, and I think we're moving forward.
So next steps, Sean, would that be to get a quote for installation?
Yep. I think that's
And then
the
that'll be
contractor and get some final numbers together.
Now, the grant funding that we plan on using will not be available till 2015. Until the Cablevision proposal, which actually only just came on the BPU agenda. They just sent their letter to the BPU trying to get on the agenda for approval. They have not, Cablevision has not been approved yet. Once they're approved, then we can request our first payment of $15,000. I'm anticipating in 2015.
That'll give us time to.
Yeah, flesh it out.
So
We've got
just,
some-
don't expect to see this
Audio.
in next month or something. We don't have the funds.
And by then, we may also get perhaps John, you can get us a firm opinion about the state retention.
I will. I have a note from Mr. Jacobs to follow up on that.
You know, what about the offer from Basil and Mary Jane for the donation? I mean, we take donations of ATVs from Bucky and Gus, and donations from Trump for signs. Is there any reason we can't take donations from them?
No.
Donate away. Anybody else want to donate?
All right, so let's move on to public comment. Second time, as we do every meeting, please come to the microphone, identify yourself for what is right now just audio.
Jane Fennell, 162 Hillside Avenue. I have bought many discs of the audio. Number one, Mr. Mayor, you can't tell who's speaking. And number two, many people, especially Mr. Bellardo, who doesn't have a microphone, I can't hear him in this room, less on the tapes or the discs that I buy. So I do thank you people for your consideration of the videotape. After December the 2nd, I looked at what Basil did. I was amazed. I sent everybody on this committee an email offering to buy the camera, and also I announced once again in public that I am hearing impaired. I don't want to do that, but I cannot hear. I cannot hear most of what's going on here, and for many months, the equipment that was provided when this hall was built hasn't worked. So I'm talking to you as a handicapped person. Please, get up and run the videotapes.
I think you're gonna get your wish.
Sooner rather than later, please. Thank you.
Please.
I'll defer if anybody wants to talk about the tapes, because I'm changing the subject back to something
It's
else.
public comment.
Just give me else a chance. Brian Haggerty, Fairview Drive. I want to talk about the tree. And with hours late, I'll try to be brief, and I don't want to deal with the lawyers, because I believe the tree is older than the town. The legal profession is a very old and honored profession. But if we wait for the lawyers to work out the agreements, the tree will be dead and we'll all be gone. The lawyers will have finally figured out why not to do it. So we've had mention of business people. But let's stick with the law for a second. Something else very old is our Constitution. I'll just, pardon me for reading. The excerpt of the United States Constitution, Fifth Amendment, you might recognize. No person shall be deprived of property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. What is that piece of land really worth to the property owner these days? One might wonder, as a point of negotiation, some possibilities. I know, because I did attend some of the working sessions, They like to point out that their land is not worth as much as it was, their buildings are not worth as much as they were because they don't need them as much, and so they want their taxes reduced, and that was a point of negotiation. I also heard at another meeting that pretty much they're built out on that property. And I know personally, how much property you own dictates how much building you can build. And I also know there's such a thing as liability when you let somebody on your property, and there's such a thing as a triple net lease. So I'm just thinking possibilities. If the property owner were able to lease a parcel, a little piece of their property that can happen to contain a 300-year-old elm tree, ash tree, sorry, thinking something else, ash tree, lease it net to the town for $1. I'll pay the $1. I'm sorry, I'm cheap. I'm not going to donate the tree. I'll pay the $1. And that will become town property. I'm sure there's a way that Mr. Bellardo's office can work out a way that they can keep their area, the zoning, to not lose a building. And then you can go ahead and make the agreement with the people who are being very generous to donate the tree service. So just the thought of an idea to throw out there, and I might suggest it to the private citizen. I think I know who he is. I might suggest that to the private citizen as a way to get around all the lawyering. I know the private citizen, who I think he is also an engineer and has a bit of a tie to people in that industry, and might be able to just want to get it done. If their problem is letting people on their property, just find a way to not make it their property with no skin off their nose. I hope you can do something with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, we will go to Township Committee comments. We'll start with Mr. Payne.
Nothing further this evening, Mayor.
Nothing further?
Jacobs.
I was going to make an ash reference, but I'll leave that to John. Nothing further.
And I'll make it 5. I thank everyone for their participation tonight, and I give a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.